you to think of yourself when you're feeling joy and bring up joyful memories right now. Like, oh my gosh, that was a joyful memory. That was a joyful memory. Oh, that feels so good. That was a joyful memory too. That was fun. That was fun. That was good. That was real good. Okay. Okay. And now I want you to think about things that made you feel disempowered. How do you feel? Go into the emotion. There was times when this happened. Oh, I didn't like when this person did this. Oh my gosh. I don't like that. Right? And so what are the things that we're doing? And all of the emotions, it falls somewhere between that. Right? Joy and disempowerment. Anger. Sadness. I think that some things we should keep to ourselves. Some thoughts, some ideas, some ways, right? Some reflections are for us. Okay? I want you to get comfortable in reflecting and being reflective and thinking about yourself as we talk about these, right? Because as we talk about these different mindset books and empowerment and all these things, it's all about self-development. It's not about, oh, how is Khadijah developing in this? I know how I'm developing in this because this is a personal practice, right? And we all have different personal practices. And the way that you practice personally is how you practice personally, right? And we're constantly refining and fine-tuning what that looks like for each one of us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, blessings, and mercy be unto you. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Khadijah Toto, and you are listening to Lit Chat Lounge, the podcast where we focus on mindset development. And as you all know, we are continuing on in the series of analyzing and reviewing Ask and It Is Given. And currently we are on chapter 9. Now, before we go ahead and read chapter 9, let's talk about yesterday's, which was chapter 7. I'm sorry, yesterday's was just chapter 8, where we talked about the visionary versus the observer. That was a huge point that we made. And essentially, the visionary is the one that always stays aligned and always stays tuned in and tapped on, whereas the observer essentially absorbs the moment, right? If the moments are bad, they're absorbing the bad moments. If the moments are great, they're absorbing the great moments. However, the visionary, whether it's good or whether it's bad, they're focused on the desire and they're always thriving in whatever energy that they choose to pursue in. We also talked about how a practiced thought is a belief, and that was super powerful as well, because it's like, whoa, like you think the same thought over and over and over and over again, and that's what turns into beliefs. That's what turns into, yes, I know. There's a knowing, right? Because you've practiced that thought several times over and over again, which actually makes sense why, if something that is true, right? If you grew up believing a lie, that's why something that is true takes a shock to your system, because it's not a practiced thought. But as you continue to practice that thought, you continue to believe it. All right. And then we talked about how whatever you give your attention to is what you are creating. All right. So let's go ahead and get straight into chapter 9. This is a great chapter. This chapter is only 3 pages. And let's talk. There's some amazing points in here I can't wait for us to get to. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. The hidden value behind your emotional reactions. Chapter 9. Your sense of sight is different from your sense of hearing, and your sense of smell is different from your sense of touch. But even though they are different, they are all vibrational interpretations. In other words, when you approach a hot stove, your sense of sight does not necessarily tell you that the stove is hot. Your sense of hearing and your sense of taste or smell are not usually the way you recognize a hot stove either. But as you approach the stove with your body, the sensors in your skin let you know that the stove is hot. You were born with sensitive, evolved, sophisticated translators of vibrations that help you understand and define your experience. And in the same way that you utilize your five physical senses to interpret your physical life experience, you were born with other sensors, your emotions, which are further vibrational interpreters that help you understand in the moment the experiences that you are living. Emotions are indicators of your point of attraction. Your emotions are your indicators of the vibrational content of your being in every moment. And so when you become aware of the feeling of your emotions, you can also be aware of your vibrational offering. And once you combine your knowledge of the law of attraction with your in this moment awareness of what your vibrational offering is, then you will have full control of your own powerful point of attraction. With this knowledge, you can now guide your life experience in any way you choose. Your emotions simply, purely, and only are about your relationship with your source. And since your emotions tell you everything that you would ever want or need to know about your relationship with your source, we often refer to your emotions as your emotional guidance system. When you made the decision to come forth into this physical body, you fully understood your eternal connection to source energy, and you knew that your emotions would be constant indicators that would let you know in every moment your current relationship with source energy. And so, understanding the powerful guidance that you have eternal access to, you felt no sense of risk, no sense of confusion, only a sense of adventure and true exhilaration. Emotions are indicators of your alignment with source energy. Your emotions indicate the degree of your alignment with source. Although you can never achieve such a complete misalignment with source that you disconnect from it altogether, the thoughts that you choose to give your attention to do give you a substantial range in alignment or misalignment with the non-physical energy that is truly who you are. And so, with time and practice, you will come to know in every moment your degree of alignment with who you really are. For when you are in full allowance of the energy of your source, you thrive. And to the degree that you do not allow this alignment, you do not thrive. You are empowered beings. You are utterly free to create. And when you know that and are focused upon things that are in vibrational harmony with that, you feel absolute joy. But when you think thoughts that are contrary to that truth, you feel the opposite emotions of disempowerment and bondage. And all emotions fall somewhere within that range, from joy to disempowerment. Use your emotions to feel your way back to well-being. When you think a thought that rings true with who you really are, you feel harmony coursing through your physical body. Joy, love, and a sense of freedom are examples of that alignment. And when you think thoughts that do not ring true with who you really are, you feel the disharmony in your physical body. Depression, fear, and feelings of bondage are examples of that misalignment. In the same way that sculptors mold clay into the creation that pleases them, you create by molding energy. You mold it through your power of focus, by thinking about things, remembering things, and imagining things. You focus the energy when you speak, when you write, when you listen, when you are silent, when you remember, and when you imagine. You focus it through the projection of thought. Like the sculptors who, with time and practice, learn to mold the clay into the precise desired creation, you can learn to mold the energy that creates worlds through the focus of your own mind. And like the sculptors who, with their hands, feel their way as they recreate their vision, you will use your emotions to feel your way to well being. I love this chapter. I love all the chapters in this book, but I specifically love this chapter because we are all emotional beings, whether we want to admit it or not. We're all emotional beings. It's why we move the way we move, it's why we make the decisions that we make. Some of us are more emotionally intelligent in interpreting what those emotions mean and how to move forward with our desire, which is what essentially creates that emotional intelligence. What do we do with these emotions during these times, right? Some of us fall in misalignment and we empower the misalignment and we go in the opposite direction, right? And then some of us feel the energy, we go into direct alignment, and we move forward in whatever the desired location of our well-being, and we find that to be of that emotional setting point. Now, in chapter 9, there's a lot of points that she makes. One of the things, there's going to be later on a definition that we do look up, and we usually use the etymology dictionary. However, because she has a glossary in the back and she wrote the book, we're going to use her definitions of how she defined the words to be, okay? Because there's a reason that she put a glossary back there, right? And so with the glossary being back there, yes, while it's important to use the dictionary for certain words, if she has her own dictionary back here, this means that she has an interpretation, a specific interpretation of what those words mean that may be outside of the dictionary, okay, or highlighted points. So we'll get to that in a bit as well. So in here, she talks about vibrational interpretation, and she uses the example of a stove, right? You might not hear it, see it, smell it, taste it, right? But when you touch it, you know, right? And how our emotions are the same way, right? We use our senses and we are creating vibrational interpretations of what everything means. In the next part, she talks about combining your knowledge of the law of attraction with your in this moment awareness of what your vibrational offering is. Then you'll have full control of your own powerful point of attraction. Combine your knowledge of what you see around, right, and your awareness. And when you have that awareness, then you're able to take whatever energy that is and focus it, right? And extremely focus it on what you desire versus the thing that you don't desire. She talks about how your emotions are simply your relationship with Source. And so as we think about these moments and these times, going back, I want you to think thoughts of when have you felt out of alignment with Source? And how did that feel for you? And how did you feel once you got back into alignment? What are the things that you did to get back in alignment with what you know to be Source? I want you to really sit back and think about that. And I'm asking you this as I'm thinking about it for myself. I think that some things we should keep to ourselves. Some thoughts, some ideas, some ways, right? Some reflections are for us. Okay? I want you to get comfortable in reflecting and being reflective and thinking about yourself as we talk about these, right? Because as we talk about these different mindset books and empowerment and all these things, it's all about self-development. It's not about, oh, how is Khadijah developing in this? I know how I'm developing in this because this is a personal practice, right? And we all have different personal practices. And the way that you practice personally is how you practice personally, right? And we're constantly refining and fine-tuning what that looks like for each one of us. Later on, she talks about how we often refer to your emotions as your emotional guidance system, okay? So I want to define emotion and then emotional guidance, okay? So she says emotion is the body's physical, visceral response to the vibrational state of being caused by whatever you are giving your attention to. Okay? The visceral response to the vibrational state of being caused by whatever you are giving your attention to. Okay? So, whatever you're feeling, okay? What you're giving your attention to, right? Emotion is evoked through what you're giving your attention to. Whether it's a thought, and most of the time it is a thought. How are you using your senses that evoke certain thoughts, right? Then we have emotional guidance, which is awareness of your state of attraction because of the way you feel as you give your attention to different things, right? So this is essentially saying once you allow your awareness to travel in a certain space or in a certain area, what does that feel like, right? And it's you choosing how you give your attention, right? And that's the emotional guidance system, is using the emotional guidance to make you flow like, okay, I'll be over here because I like the way I feel. Over here, I like the way I feel. And the goal is to consistently like the way you feel and everything that you do and to love what you do while growing, right? Of course, there's going to be some things that you know, when you're practicing and you're molding and you're becoming better, and it's going to be difficult, right? There are going to be times when things feel all over the place and it doesn't feel like you're anywhere where you should be. But that doesn't mean that you give up and quit. No, it's part of the journey of you getting your desires, right? You getting your desires. We all go through something. All of us. No one is exempt from going through anything. So you might see these billionaires, blah, 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 blah. They didn't tell you the stories of what happened in between the time of them getting there. If they told you half those stories, quite sure that you probably wouldn't want to go through that. All right. So let's keep going. Now, the one part that really stuck out to me in this part, and I've read this book several times. I've read this book more times than I can count. I've referenced this book and many times when I felt emotional disharmony and needed to maybe do a process exercise or do something like that. You are empowered beings. You are utterly free to create. And when you know that and you are focused upon things that are vibrational harmony with that, you feel absolute joy. But when you think thoughts that are contrary to that truth, you feel the opposite emotions of disempowerment and bondage. And all emotions fall somewhere within that range, from joy to disempowerment. And the first thought that I thought about was, I want you to think of yourself when you're feeling joy and bring up joyful memories right now. Like, oh my gosh, that was a joyful memory. Oh, that feels so good. That was a joyful memory too. That was fun. That was good. That was real good. Okay, and now I want you to think about things that made you feel disempowered. How do you feel? Go into the emotion. There was times when this happened. Oh, I didn't like when this person did this. Oh my gosh, I don't like that, right? And so what are the things that we're doing? And all of the emotions, it falls somewhere between that, right? Joy and disempowerment, anger, sadness, happiness, cheerfulness, joy. Right? It all is in between that in the emotional guidance system and how we choose to move. Now, this part, I'm going to make this the last point. She says, you create by molding energy. I'm telling you, there are certain things in this book that I'm just seeing for the first time. I do not remember ever hearing that. And I say this all the time. So something in the subconscious mind must have, gathered it. However, the conscious mind is just now gathering. It says you create by molding energy. You mold it through your power of focus. Okay? You focus it through the projection of thoughts. Okay? So constantly thinking those thoughts, right? Constantly focusing your power upon that and repeating it, that practice thought, right? Making that focus into a belief, right? And constantly molding that energy. And he talks about you can mold the energy that creates worlds through the focus of your mind. And like the sculptors who with their hands feel their way as they recreate their vision, you will use your emotions to feel your way to well-being. Wow. So the same way that a potter is sculpting the clay is the same way that you are sculpting your energy. And it's all about you sculpting your own energy. That's why they say look within and not without. Because we're all creating our own realities, that means that we are creating our own world. We're creating our own way of being and thinking and seeing and interpretations of life. We can't control what other people think or feel. We can inspire them, we can influence them. Yes, we can do all those things. We can there's tactics of manipulation and blah blah blah, right? But we can't truly take the essence of somebody else and who and what they choose to be and what they are, and truly we can choose to either be in their presence and be co-creators, or we can choose to go somewhere else and co-create with someone else and be deliberate creators in a different way. And that's where that emotional and alignment with his source is going to be super duper important. If y'all have any other points that y'all have seen within the readings or within anything that's really super duper stood out to you, please write it in the comments. I'd love to check it out. I'd love to talk about it with you all. I can't wait to just hear and see more of y'all's thoughts and ideas and the things that really hit you about these chapters. Because like I said, this is the first time that I've read this book several times. And this is the first time that I'm even noticing, or that my awareness is conscious enough to even notice certain parts. Like I'm like, whoa, how did I miss that point? How did I miss that point before? But I just wasn't there. Like it said in chapter 1, you only hear what you're ready to hear. So anyways, y'all, it was a pleasure to be with you. I will check back in with y'all tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, blessings, and mercy be unto you. This is Lit Chat Lounge, your mindset empowerment podcast, where we work on self-development and improving ourselves. Have a wonderful, spectacular day.